Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped all upside down. My life got
Too many Will Smith!
What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoy Will Smith as an actor. And hey, I don't think 2 is too many. I was excited for this movie. Let's talk about Gemini Man right now. So, directed by Ang Lee, an over-the-hill hitman faces off against a younger clone of himself,
Double Will Smith!
So like I said, this director, I'm a pretty big fan of his. Listen, not every movie works when he directs a film, but at least he's giving it his all, and he always manages to direct something a bit different, something that stands out from the crowd, which is what I can say about Gemini Man, and I grew up with Will Smith. I'm such a big fan. I'm a bit biased because I loved Fresh Prince, and I loved all of his 90s movies, and even some early 2000s films. You know, they've been great, but he's not had a big hitter over the past few years. I was excited about him joining the DCEU, and that didn't necessarily pan out movie-wise, and then he's had some opportunities that he's passed up on, and now we get Gemini Man. Now, Aladdin, earlier this year, did great at the box office. Pretty big hit for him. I was wanting Gemini Man to be the next good Will Smith movie. The one that takes him as the lead, as the focus, and really allows him to shine as an actor. And I will say this, before we get into the actual review. He was very good. I really liked him in this role, in both roles. He plays the younger version, plays the older version, and he really excels in differentiating both characters. Both versions are different enough, but you can still see that they're both being played by him, and they both really are different versions with shared experiences. Another thing that I really loved about this movie was the look of the entire thing. And I'm not going to lie to you, this high frame rate thing going in, the technology that they used to make the movie, I was a bit nervous. But visually, it actually worked. It's not something that everyone's going to love. I do think there are going to be some that look at it and go, well, they're changing too much. And I get it. I can get behind that. But it actually kind of worked for the style that they were going for. And it really worked when they were focusing on action. There are some action scenes in here that, I'm not kidding, are some of my favorite action scenes of the year. Especially the motorcycle chase. There's one point where there is a motorcycle thing that happens. I don't even want to say what happens, but the way that the camera follows Will Smith along on this motorcycle and the way that they go about the actual chase and then the action that follows, it was really entertaining. It was riveting. It was thrilling. I truly did. I loved so many things about the action in this film. Unfortunately, the story does not measure up to the action. It does not. I do think there are so many cliche and conventional elements in this movie that I frankly wasn't anticipating because I thought it was going to be smarter than this. Not something that I've seen multiple times before, just kind of packaged in a pretty way. It's a nice movie to look at. I like the cinematography, didn't mind the score, a lot of great technical elements in there, and from that perspective, it's really good. But if you're looking for a story that you've never seen before, if you're looking for characters with characteristics that aren't plucked from other movies in the same vein, then I don't think you're going to get it. And one thing that I was hoping they would actively avoid in this movie was the mustache-twirling villain that you learn nothing about, so you don't understand his motivations behind why he's doing what he's doing. And I think the worst part about this villain is the fact that he barely gets any screen time with our lead in older Will Smith, so you don't really understand their relationship, their backstory. You don't understand why they're going up against each other as well because there's really no fleshing out there. It cuts to the villain a few times. It cuts to younger Will Smith a few times. And I like that the majority of the story is spent building up Henry as a character. That's nice. And you're fleshing out his relationships. That's great. But it's all about, this guy was so good, and he's still this good, but he just wants to get out of the game. He wants to retire. It's a story that we've seen so many times before. Granted, you have Will Smith doing a really good job, so that absolutely helps it. But everything else about this movie, from the training program to the company that they're going up against, it's just like, I didn't care about any of that because narratively, they spent no time building that up. They spent no time giving us a fresh story with fresh experiences, and the only thing that works about this movie for me is the action and, of course, the performance of Will Smith that keeps it from being a bad movie. Now, I think a lot of people are going to walk out of this saying it was bad, And I'm not going to blame them for that because there are so many cliche and conventional elements. I think Will Smith's performance was good enough, both of them, and the fact that there's some solid filmmaking in there with phenomenal visuals, but I'm just going to say this film is a bit odd. It's oddly paced. It's different from what I expected, but not necessarily in a good way. But hey, I want to encourage you guys to go check it out, see it for yourselves. And like I said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a thumbs up. I'm going to go 52% for Gemini Man, unfortunately. I wanted it to be better than it actually was. But as a fan of Will Smith and sometimes watching his movies and getting a bit more than I think other people get out of them, I can't say it's the worst thing I've seen all year. Thank you guys once again for watching. Be on the lookout because this week is a massive week from Little Monsters on Hulu to El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie dropping on Netflix. And of course, we got The Addams Family and all the other movies coming out to theaters. You guys are the best. Thank you for your support on Patreon and YouTube as well. And I will see you very soon.